like to know what was discussed. If you do not wish to be recorded, please let us know at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. So tonight's a little bit different. We have two public hearings. So the first meeting I'll be calling to order is our public hearing. So that I'm calling that to order at 6:02 p.m. So everybody, if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So this public hearing is for the purpose of presenting the limited general obligation bond and providing the public the opportunity to make comments. So at this time, I'd just like to open the floor and invite anyone up who has any public comments regarding the general obligation bond. Okay, don't everyone rush the podium. Wonderful. So seeing no comments at this time, I would encourage the community who may be listening in to please contact Superintendent Hatzenbeeler with any questions or concerns you may have about that bond. And at this time, I'll open it up for board comments.
No
Okay.
comments.
Okay. Hearing none, I will adjourn the public meeting or the public hearing at 6:03 p.m. All right, our next public hearing is for the Debt Service Fund and Capital Projects Fund bond extensions. So I will call that meeting to order at 6:04. So this public hearing is for the purpose of presenting the Debt Service Fund and Capital Projects Fund budget extensions and providing the public the opportunity to make comments. So at this time, I'll invite the community up for any comments. All right, hearing none, I'll move on to board comments.
I'm just so happy we're at this point.
Me too. Me too. All right. With no further comments, I will adjourn this public hearing at 6:05. 6:05, Bonnie.
Okay.
And now, I'd like to move forward with calling to order our regular board meeting for the evening, which I will do at 6:05. And the first item on our agenda, we actually have a modification to the agenda, so I will entertain a motion for that.
I will make a motion. I move to add the personnel addendum to the consent agenda and move the RU OK report to the April regular board meeting.
Any second?
I second it.
Great, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful, thank you. Motion passes. So, I am really excited to begin this next topic, board recognition. We have so much exciting things to cover. First, let's start by recognizing our Orting High School boys wrestling team, who won its first state title since moving to 2A. Also, the Lady Cardinals wrestling team won the WIAA academic state title. And our OHS wrestling coach, Jody Coleman, won Coach of the Year. So I would like to invite our wrestlers up. We've got some gifts for you and some important recognition. Coach Coleman, would you like to say anything before we do the fun parts?
Sure. Well, we had a really fun year. You know, a lot of ups and downs with the COVID protocols to where, you know, you'd start to think, is this ever gonna happen? And then things would turn around, so. But the kids did a really good job of just staying the course and staying focused on the goals, and I think they all knew the potential we had. They just wanted to share it with everybody, and we really didn't have the opportunity to showcase the team as a whole until the postseason. Just the way things were working out, and then they all came together and they just smashed it. So they did really good. We're really young. We only graduated a couple seniors, and so we've got 5 returning state champs coming back.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it'll be a big
Fantastic.
year again for the next couple of years.
Nice.
So
Well,
it was fun.
we are so proud of the team, how you persevered throughout the year and just came through. Talk about representing Orting so well. It was really fun seeing the updates from the state championship and all the photos of you guys having fun. Fun too.
They had a lot of fun.
Well, we've got some certificates for recognition.
Would you all like to help to hand out some of
Oh,
the
yeah.
gifts there? You might want to see what's inside, or just help them.
No.
All the same.
Thank you so much.
It was fun to be able to attend your parade too.
Photo with.
Yeah.
Good job, congratulations. That's a real honor to get you guys got and to be recognized for that, so kudos for that.
Brian, hey, I think we were planning on leaving the trophies in the front office. Wonderful. So,
Yeah, put that in the case, that'd be great.
yeah, maybe we just leave them up on the stage.
Yeah.
Or we can put them up there on the,
Yeah, well, leave it on the stage.
okay.
That'll give us some bling during the meeting.
There you go.
Yeah, just so we can ride your coattails for a little bit.
Defer to that at any moment. Look at the trophy.
Would you like us to call? We
So
want to
let's
hear
come on down and
it.
let's get a photo.
Did you girls get one?
Let's, do you mind coming down for a photo?
Yeah.
Kathy?
Oh, sure.
You wanna, I know you wanna stand by Mr. Reed.
I do.
Well, some are training for Virginia Beach, so they're still going.
All right, we're ready for photo op? Which camera are we looking at? Okay. Rashad, call it when you're ready.
Get picture.
1, 2, 3.
That's great, guys.
Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3.
Very nice.
Oh, we should turn the laptop around for Joanne. Oh,
That's
Oh, no,
after.
no, no.
Guys, I blew past all those pre-written comments. Sorry about that.
oh, that's all right.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you for coming. Thank you.
Parents and family, thank you for supporting
Yes,
our kids.
thank you.
It's a lot of weekends and travel to.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, next on board recognition, I would love to invite Jerry and Lovey. Please join us.
Uh-huh.
It's hard to follow that.
Jerry Silvernail and Lovey Fisher are co-presidents of our PSC union, and they are both attending to be recognized for our appreciation for you. We've got flowers and chocolates there, I believe. The week of March 14th.
Oh, sure.
Me to do that? You got it?
You got it?
Sure. Yep, I will. Especially since I know Jerry, and my daughter's favorite bus driver.
So the week of March 14th is Education Support Professionals Week. And we are recognizing our employees across the district, such as our paraeducators, custodians, ground maintenance, and the whole PSC organization for their support of our district and our kids. And we appreciate the hard work and the dedication and putting our students first. So thank you so much. And thank you both for leading this organization.
Yes, thank you.
May we do a photo op board with
Yes.
our PSC colleagues as well? We'd love to continue getting that word out.
And I want to say thank you to the board and Superintendent Hadson-Buehler. You guys have been very supportive of classified staff, and they notice it, and they are very appreciative of it. So thank you very much.
Well, we thank you because Jerry knows and Joanne knows I started out as a special ed teacher, and I know that your para makes or breaks you. And I know after working in the same building for so long that you are kind to your custodians and your lunch people because they're the ones that make your day run. So thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Yes,
Board, would you mind joining us for a
Yeah.
photo?
Oh,
absolutely.
What's that?
And they're all excited for that.
Thank you, guys.
I know we're gonna be celebrating on stage.
Hey, can I just say to Jerry and Lovey that congratulations for being awesome presidents, and that you guys know how much I love classified staff and could not do my job without it, and could have never have done my job without it, and we couldn't run this school without you guys. Love you guys.
Aw.
Perfect. All right. So, as if that wasn't enough celebration, I just have a few more things to mention. We have even more state competitions. We have CTE, regional, and state competitions for a number of our high school clubs. We've got Future Business Leaders Association, FBLA, will be in Spokane on April 20th and 23rd. Our Washington Career and Technical Sports Medicine Association will be in Tacoma, April 22nd and 23rd. And our Future Farmers Association will have a regional competition this weekend in South Kitsap and March 23rd in Yelm. And their state competition is in May in Kennewick.
oh.
And May 11th and the 15th in Kennewick, and May 31st, June 1st in Pullman. So we're super excited about the students' accomplishments. We're excited to recognize them. We want to make sure they're part of this board meeting so that our community can celebrate them as well. And these sound like some really fun trips to go on for these kids. I hope they have a great time.
Nadine, I saw you, did you want to?
Yeah, also our Knowledge Bowl team made it to state, and state is
right.
tomorrow.
Oh,
Yay.
thank you for reminding us of
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Thank you. Shout out to our Knowledge Bowlers. Is that what they go by? Knowledge Bowlers? Sounded good.
That sounds right.
All right, lots of celebrations and lots of great work happening throughout our district and just all, lifting up our students. I love it.
One of the other things on here was the OHS hosted the basketball game with the life skills students.
Yes.
And I just wanted to mention that I was so excited to go when I first saw it come up on the calendar, and then it got postponed, COVID. And then, so when it came back, I was excited to go, and I was down there, could not find a parking spot to save my soul. So I had to leave. I was so disappointed, but then so excited to see these swarms of students heading into the gym to support that activity. And as they said, they thought it was one of the best opportunities that they had to witness and to take part in something like that. So really cool that that happened, and hopefully I'll get to go next time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Board, any other things that you'd like to recognize happening in our schools? All good? That was a lot to celebrate. I'm really happy. So at this time, I will turn it over to Superintendent Hatzenbeeler for your report.
Thank you very much. Miss Bonnie will get that pulled up, and happy to share some repeats and a few more things here that have been happening in the system. One of the things as she's pulling that, you're beginning to see is just how we have begun to rebrand the system. So part of your interest was to help to create a new strategic plan. You'll see that unfold tonight. And really launching off the student, staff, community feedback. That's what really led us into what our strategic goals might look like moving forward as a system. So we just want to continue to lead with that, and the ideas around your goals around helping all of our students to feel connected to the system and that sense of belonging. We know that's essential, and now more than ever after coming back from the pandemic, you're hearing continued examples of how students and staff are getting their voice and ideas out there, and we're showing value and utilization in that. We really want to develop that sense of efficacy that students believe they can make a difference, and we want to help build different activities, and whether that's through the club environment, the classroom, or sports, we just want to continue to highlight all the different ways that students can set those goals and reach them. One of the pieces that we're going to do in our board retreat and talk about moving forward is just what are all the different levels of support our students need. Everybody is individually different, and we want to think through what are all the different ways that we can meet those through support and intervention. So leading in with that theory of action, you're going to continue to see us put that up there and live in that so that the examples we share connect to that. Also, we want to just make sure those goals stay transparent around building student agency, improving academic outcomes. That was the #1 area that our families and communities said they'd like to see us grow in for the next several years. But we know that doesn't happen by itself. So we need to create learning experiences that students want and can be a part of that really challenge and support their learning. The community partnerships, we have over 30 partners right now. Director Willis shared many of those in January's report, and we want to continue to foster that. Your goals around supporting the whole child will continue to remain prevalent. We know that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, and we have to think through the individual lens. And lastly, again, building those student support systems. So tonight you're going to see in not this report, but a future report, what does that strategic plan look like when it's all coming together? Just some highlights over the course of the last time we were together. The mask requirement has lifted. So it's in all contexts but 2. So it's still a requirement in our health rooms. Our health rooms, isolation rooms are kind of correlated with that medical care, similar to a hospital. So any visitor to a health room has to wear a face covering. And then it's also required for anybody that's tested positive for COVID and is in days 6 to 10 of the isolation period that hasn't presented a negative COVID test. So other than those two examples, it is optional. And one of the things that Director Willis and our team have been trying to unpack is not only what are the changes, but what does the wording mean? And so we put out updates to our guidelines and our written communication based on what we got from the health department last week. We put out communication to families to try to help set them up for success, and just reiterating that required means it's on the onus of the district to ensure that is met. Recommended now becomes an individual choice. And so right now, whether you're a student or a staff member, you can make the choice to socially distance from one another based on your context, and or wear a face covering. So we're trying to put out that language in our updates so staff and students and families know what's the difference and where is my responsibility and what does my advocacy look like, and what is that of a system. I will say relatively wrinkle-free. I don't know of any hiccups that have come up since that change has been made. I think for the most part, that's been welcome in most eyes. We did share about the 2A state title. That was our first at this level. And as Coach Coleman shared, he's anticipating, not to call it too early, but that there are more maybe in our future. He's really proud of their team, a lot of young talent, and with 5 champions returning next year, there's a lot of expectations already. You'll see Coach was shaved today in that photo. He made a commitment when the pandemic came to not shave and not cut his hair. And so there was a very clean-shaven Mr. Coleman.
Really?
The day masks were lifted the Sunday before, he got a haircut and a shave, and that's the first time in 2 years.
I love his red suit.
Yeah, the red suit was awesome. Our team was featured in the newspaper, so we put that out and shared that link with the 2A, as well as the celebration of Coach of the Year and the state academic title. Those are very amazing accomplishments, and we'll make sure that from your heart, the certificates and the rest of those gifts get out to our wrestlers on Monday, because they won't be here tomorrow. That's their day off. Food service, that's been an ongoing area. As you know, we built our food service schedules really around the idea to try to socially distance as much as we could. And with the free food from USDA and just the volume of students, we are pumping out meals like we haven't before. Traditionally, we've served maybe about 16 breakfasts. And PTR, just in my update last week, they're putting over 200 out a day. So thus far in the year, we've served over 40,000 breakfasts, over 100,000 lunches. And we just didn't start the year with that volume of staff. And our facilities weren't built to serve that many kids in that short of a time frame. So some of the things that we're able to celebrate, we've shifted to some grab-and-go lunches at the middle school. That's helping to decrease some of the wait time. The high school restructured their line. That's helping to get through with more ease. We've added staffing, and we're going to continue to look at that and then think through what is the USDA doing? Will they support that next year or not? We're not sure yet. But if so, we want to get out in front of the anticipated staffing needs and the master schedule needs to make sure we have adequate sit time. We want to have at least that 20-minute sit time after you have your meal to be able to take that downtime and enjoy that food and make sure you get that nourishment. Food drive and mileage club, when we see OPS in action, 1,900 pounds of food were raised. We also put out an article, any recess that you see, you'll see students doing laps and laps and laps, and every lap they stop and scan a card and track their mileage. And so we have students that are getting miles after miles at recess, and it's just fun to watch, and they stop at the little podium and talk about it, what they're doing. So trying to lift some good news from there.
And thank Miss Shees for that.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Miss Shees started that, and yeah, they love it.
They do. It's really a source of pride. Looking at PTR, we've been getting some sound bites out with regard to music, and when we talk about voice, what Rashad does, he tries to find different stories and lift those out there. So it's really connected to your goals as well as through the eyes of our staff and students. So we got a couple of features that went out related to music and schools in the last month, just highlighting what that looks like. We do have a transition. So since the last time we met, Principal Jensen has announced her resignation at the end of this year. So she will be the principal through the 30th of June. July 1, we'll start with somebody new. So you will have that attached to your consent agenda sometime after today, after it's board approved. Then what we would do is to start the process. So Debbie and Rashad will be working on timelines and ways to put that communication out. What we would anticipate is definitely aligned to your interest is staff and student family involvement. So we'll have probably some interview and screening that'll be pretty heavy to get it to the top 4 or 5. What I would probably say is the top two would have some opportunity, like the district did with me, to provide voice and have some questions ahead of time, and then we can collect that input from our stakeholders. That will help to shape that decision. So somewhere on or about the April 22nd timeframe, we think we would have a final selection, but we definitely want to lead with that voice and the agency piece, so everybody feels a connection to that process and can voice their input in that. OMS, you heard from their board work session, different ways to recognize students. They're working on Positivity Week, and it continued into week 2. Many students, over 48, were recognized just last week, and that's continuing. And you can just see some screenshots there of Assistant Principal McWright serving some root beer floats and giving some attagirls, attaboys out there just to share appreciation for being who you are and being kind to others. At the high school, this is really cool. This wasn't prompted. This came from totally our students. We've had, as you know, several vacancies that have accumulated this year, and finding subs is really hard. Well, Mr. Chumanchenko was subbing in math, and we finally hired a replacement, and you can just see a sign there of students showing some love and appreciation, notes of kindness. And it's just super cool when you're not told to and you step up and say, thank you. That's the kind of thing that will bring people into this system. They'll come for relationship, and it just chokes me up thinking about it because no one asked them to do that. That's out of students' passion and shows who our kids are, which I love. Knowledgeable on the state, they whooped the staff. It's like the second time in 15 years or so in my memory that the students have beat the staff, and I shared with you that they got skunked last time pretty good. It was like 20-4. That team is headed to state. They got a send-off today, so they'll be competing in Wenatchee, and then we'll see how they do. But the students there have done a phenomenal job. They're quick on the draw. And we'll see how they do and get some reports in early next week, and we'll be putting that out on our website. Also, you'll see some different examples of what our students are creating, just spaces to be outdoors. The building of the gazebo, the rain garden just keeps getting added to and added to, and so you'll see different examples of clubs that you saw. You saw the FFA club, and then we opened the Cards Nest on the soft opening, and so that space is coming together. It's just numerous examples of where we see agency in our schools, which is just awesome to see. We do have conferences coming up at the end of the month, and those will be in person. What we want to do is continue to remind people, if you have a need around wearing face covering, social distancing, that's okay. If a family has a need to accommodate virtually, we'll do that. But we do have conferences coming up, and what's really cool, we wrote this in a goal, but all of our K-5 conferences will be student-led. So really building that voice and the agency and setting their own goals and sharing those with families. So that'll be a really cool thing.
Can I ask a quick question?
You
'Cause
can.
The student conferences in the spring, there's usually multiple families in the room. Are they gonna still do it that way, or are they gonna do it just one? I'm just wondering.
Good. I believe it's one at a time. We're not trying to fill, that's what I think.
Because it used to be like 3 families.
But I'm not fully sure, to be
Okay.
honest with you.
Okay.
I don't know how they're actually scheduled. So that's my report for this month, and we're gonna look to some more awesomeness next month.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So much happening. Some really great things to celebrate. I love the improvements at OHS, the rain garden, and
The
some great
gazebo's,
outdoor space for kids to enjoy. I like it.
the gazebo's lovely.
I like that the students are doing it, and it's
Yeah.
not like a facilities project, it's student-led. That's really
Student-led.
Yeah. And I believe I heard facilities is supporting the kids.
They are.
Teaching them along
Yep.
the way, and I love that connection.
Yeah, one of the values of CT as we build those community partnerships is to find those connections so you can learn about industry and trade, and they're able to do that with that partnership, and it's just been awesome to see what they're producing.
And I saw Mr. Jones came in and helped. Oh.
Indeed. Yeah, he's been doing a lot of subbing.
Oh, he is now. Okay. Oh, better.
All right. Wonderful, thank you. Next on our agenda is the facilities update. And I've got here that Liz and Matt are presenting.
We have Liz Leroy with us this evening, and Liz is going to give you an update with regard to some land and what we've been up to since our last meeting.
It's a good segue, seeing everything up in the district that's happening. So base on a couple things. In April, May, we'll have some bond planning, kind of summaries of scenarios, so you'll see that at that time. And then we're also doing some capacity scenarios just to kind of reconfirm some of the CFAC work that was done, just to ensure that those items kind of seamlessly go together as we talk about new schools and locations. Some of the work that we've done around the new property at 510 and 710 on Washington Avenue is kind of exciting. So we transitioned from due diligence period until some contracts to talk about some of the pre-design work. So you'll see that kind of transitioning, and then also some outreach and some detailed schedule that talks about that planning. So we'll talk about working with NAC on some programming, and what that is we saw early on in that overall schedule what that looks like. And so the programming is when we reach out to staff and principals and community members and touch base back with them about some of the needs and certain programs that we want to support at each campus. That also kind of ties back in also with some of the nuts and bolts of it. So we saw a lot, we've heard some about the wetland studies and the transportation studies, and so we started to engage some of those other consultants and working closely with the city to make sure we're transparent with them with some of the preferred consultants that they might have, so we can work closely with them. So I don't have a lot of other update, but we want to make sure that you know that we're working hard to have a more thorough update in April.
Okay. Any questions? Or?
I'm sure they're coming.
Yeah.
I appreciate the updates on the way, because it's like, okay, yeah, we did that. Okay, that's making sense.
Exactly, it's good to have.
Yeah,
some
it is.
consistent
Absolutely.
for each month.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
When, I do have one question. When is there going to be like activity out on the property that we might get questions? Like if there's trucks out on the property, you know, the community might be curious, and so I'm just thinking timing wise.
I think that's why it's important to have these updates at the board level first too, so we can look back on those and make sure that we're transparent. As far as activity level, I'd say more what, you know, a community member might see is if at the city level, if there's something that is commented or mentioned. So that's probably the first component, because we have had dialogue with them about our feasibility studies for that property, and now we are working closely with them on transportation and traffic. So you might see it at that level. As far as any other activity on the actual property, you probably will not see much. You know,
Okay.
it'll be at this level and then alongside of the city.
Okay. Perfect.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, Liz. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Liz.
I had you blended in with all of our wrestling fans. I didn't look at you and go, oh, that's Liz. Next item is a prepared by financial report, prepared by Marcy. Are there any questions?
No questions from me.
Just thank you, as always, you do such a lovely job.
I did have one quick question. I know the non-voted debt fell off in 2021 and it's still in our financial, or not fell off. Did I say that wrong?
Yeah.
Our voted,
It's the
we
voted
had
debt.
up on, fall off. Our
Yeah.
non-voted debt continues through 23.
Oh,
I
yes.
believe this, so we have a couple different, we have a bond that's, will fall off, our second bond will fall off in December.
Gotcha.
Our non-voted debt will continue on for a few more years.
Okay, I misspoke.
there's-
Thank you
no,
for
that's
that
okay.
clarification.
Yep.
But that'll stay on it'll stay on our report until,
The voted debt will stay on there through December. The
Gotcha.
non-voted debt will have something to add to it,
right,
probably next month or the month after, but.
okay. Good. That makes sense.
Yes.
Thank you. And the next item was the Are You OK mental health program, but we've agreed to move that to April so that Grace could be here for
Yeah.
that.
Good.
And now, our lead testing report. Were there any questions on that? I just have to say I was excited that we're putting a bottle filler
Yeah.
in as a replacement, not a regular old drinking fountain.
Yeah.
I'm also happy that they're being replaced. I know in the past, sometimes it was just shut down,
Yeah,
and like one of them was in a kindergarten room, and that's kind of tough. So I'm glad it's being replaced instead of just turned off.
Yeah, me too. I looked at that. The custodial closet one can be shut down. I think we're okay there. But the one at OPS and I forget what the
I
other, the
think
third
they were
one was.
all at OPS,
Okay,
which that, they had been an issue in the past, so I was not surprised.
great. But I was happy to see there were not others that needed to be addressed with the change in the standard. So that's good.
Is the central office gonna get a different one, or just?
Oh, that was,
That fountain will be removed.
yeah.
And the short version is the standard as it previously existed when this data was last reported to you was 15 parts per billion. So any lead in testing greater than that would be replaced. The standard changed and the fixture didn't. We didn't replace it. But at OPS it was 6.3 parts per billion. So now that the standard has changed to 5, we're compelled to replace. And we report publicly anything related to lead testing so the public has that data. The central office fountain was 8 parts per billion, but it's not used, so we're just gonna remove that at this point in time.
Until that gets replaced, is it not usable right now until the replacement occurs?
It's usable, because there's a phase-in period with that
Okay.
lead testing date.
Okay.
Don't you have bottled water here?
And we also have
Yeah,
bottled
yeah,
water.
Mountain Mist, yeah.
Yep. Curtis's team will tackle that in-house, and I'll be able to find a time frame and report that back. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I know he was ordering parts, and then they were gonna make that a priority, so it could be spring break or tomorrow when kids are gone, because that takes a little bit to pull it off the wall.
Well, plus some of them are a bit obscure. We've learned over the summer with OPS.
Yes.
Great. The next item was asset presentation program from OSPI. I didn't see anything new or surprising on that list. All of our facilities are in good condition, except for like the known issues, HVAC at OMS, replacing our camera systems. So were there any other comments or questions?
I just noticing just now, because I was really confused. The topic says presentation, I think it's supposed to be preservation. So,
Yeah.
because it is the asset preservation program, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're correct. Okay, so we'll move forward. And this is exciting, the draft of our strategic plan.
We're pretty happy about how this has come together. So we began, when I came on board, with your vision and direction about recharting where we're going as a system. We started with stakeholder feedback and meeting with students and really trying to take that data and figure out how do we take that and put that into goals moving forward. And we shared with you over time a draft of a theory of action, mission statement, vision statement, draft related to what our values would be. Later, we submitted target information to you and draft of the measures. So really, what this is not that some of it's new, and I'll kind of walk through what's new. But most of this is information you've seen previously aligned to the new branding formula. So Rashad has kind of taken all those ideas, and what he's tried to do is to capture the right picture, the right moment, the right visual example of what we've been discussing and put that into a final frame. So really happy to share with you what I would say is a draft. We want to make sure we get your feedback. Mrs. Christensen in the audience has one of the finest eyes to catch any grammatical issues, so we're incorporating her feedback as well. And what we really hope to do after your feedback tonight and with some of her watchful eye is be able to say, yep, this is it, this is final, and then make that be our anchor strategic plan for several years to come. So we would propose this to be a multi-year strategic plan through 2025. The very first page, as you see, is just really an opening welcome that I drafted. You haven't seen this piece, so this is new. But what we're hoping to really do is invite the community and our stakeholders in to know, how did this come to be? How did we get to where we're at today, and what was really the amalgam that led to that? So we're trying to capture a little bit of what that looks like, of how we got this far, and what some of our interest is. Moving from there, what we discussed, so this is the first time you've seen this as well, how do we really capture who we are So what we were trying to do is just some data points of who and what makes the Orting School District us, with some quotes and examples from staff and photos. And that's where we really wanted to nest that theory of action that we read today. The theory of action is really just that codification of if we focus on these things, then this is what we hope to see. So the second page is the who we are, a little element to invite our families in, and we know we're going to be joined by many over the next several years. What is our fundamental purpose? Why do we exist? That's a place where we felt like we could really capture the mission, vision, and core values that we've discussed that anchor and guide our work moving forward. But that as an anchor, a guide, doesn't really help if you don't have some way to measure your effectiveness in that regard. So we pivot from the why we exist to really your goals and the measures that we discussed. Since the last time we were together, we presented the measures just in what I would say is plain form, and what I did since we met are kind of put the indicators that we want to see. So you'll see language now with the measures about what we're hoping to increase or decrease or what we're hoping to move. And our next step is really where we have it before the retreat, is to get some baseline data so you can see as best as we can where we do have measures. Here's where we're at today, and some of the progress we've made since we've last met are ways that we could measure things that we're desiring to measure but don't have an effective way to do it yet. So part of what we hope to do in your board retreat is really unpack each of these goals with our present reality as best as we can, or what's our next year's plan to move forward in this area. So we really will probably spend the first half of the day unpacking each of these. So the next couple of pages, you'll just see that focus on what the strategic goals and measures are, with both language and descriptors, and cute little graphics to go along with that. Then we really, how are we going to hold this accountable? What you've said to us as a cabinet team and to me as a superintendent, you said we don't want this just to be fluff. We don't want it to be a picture on the wall that goes up and we talk about once a year. We really want it to be embedded in who we are and what that work looks like. And you haven't seen this, so this is your first peek at this page. This is really just that idea, that commitment to our stakeholders, our students, our staff. How are we going to hold ourselves accountable for this work? What are the strategies we're going to use to ensure success? So here you see some of the things we've talked about showing up now in written form, which just shows here's all the different things we're thinking about. How do we build multiple stakeholders and bring them on board? And how do we report publicly? And how are we going to get stakeholder feedback on that? So we really felt that page was important, a strategic plan, just as that commitment to you and the community about how are we going to make this happen. And then lastly, I love the graphic and the picture right there.
Yeah,
That just is a beautiful sight. It makes me think Friday Night Lights and how much fun we have down there. But we really hope to, and I'll sneak this on you now, we haven't done it yet, but get photos of each of you and then add some photos and your name at the end so we can really have that picture so that anyone moving in can have that connection to who you are as a board and see that name to a face. So sneak peek, we might be asking for some pictures coming up soon that we can get to put in there, but that's just the anchor close. So we think really those core pieces would hopefully, with your feedback tonight, make up that strategic plan. And then if we get a thumbs up from you tonight, then our next step would be to build our board retreat around those goal areas and do what we were kind of been talking about. So where are we at today, and where do we hope next year our journey is, and what would we like to see over the course of that next year? So gladly take any feedback or questions.
I have a couple of things I wrote down when I read this before, and I wanted to say that I really like that number 4, supporting the whole child, where it said increase the student protective factors supporting social, emotional, and behavioral measures as shown through decreased risk data on student surveys. And I really loved the way we tied in the student agency with supporting the whole child, and and the student voice, that the data we're using is the student voice. And that was powerful. From an educator, that was powerful. The other thing I liked is on page 7, where you talk about the capacity at the building. And I loved that the investing in continuous professional learning that increases our system's efficacy and effectiveness, because there have been too many times in the past where it's, oh, this is the current thing, let's do that. And this ties it in and makes sure that it has a goal, that it helps us in our system. And the last one I wanted to comment on is that the distributed leadership. and voice. I was so impressed because our district is about relationships and it's about agency, that we're all involved and we all have a voice. And that's, I think tonight that was an example of why we have such a powerful ability to move on, that we are using that as an asset. And I think it's one of our best assets, so.
Thank you.
I'd like to say it's just the cleanest layout. It's just so nice. The color scheme, the logo, and the pictures are so purposeful. Like the little guy there with inspired is like, if you look at his eyes, like he just, you know, he looks like he's currently being inspired. So this was done very well. I'm really impressed with how nice this looks. And the picture on the back too. I was telling Rashad, it's just, that's Orting right there. You can hear the football games echoing through the town. I love it. Looks really good.
Thank you, and I'd love to just steer that credit to Mr. O'Neill. He's been spending a lot of time on this, and we appreciate your flexibility, although we kind of talked about that. There's a lot of information that had to go around levy, and we don't want to shortchange our celebrations, so we wanted to make sure we had adequate time so we could present a polished product to you, and this is his doing, so
It's great.
thank you, Rashad.
This polished product is phenomenal, and I'm so happy that Rashad's talents are prevalent here, and your thought process and what you dream of for Orting. You can see in this handy dandy little document, and it kind of, I'm a little bit excited about the board retreat.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm like, wow, okay, this is gonna be fun.
We're excited for.
No, but you know, when Ed starts talking about during the retreat, we're gonna dive into this, I'm like, yeah, let's go. It's good to see a plan and where you started with it. You made your vision clear based on what we had said, and I can't tell you how, I mean, grateful, yes, thankful, but the professionalism that goes with that and your heart, I've said it all along for Orting, is it's right there for us, and anybody who cares to even look half a second is going to see it, and we're going to make some great things happen here.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Exactly.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I would add, you know, when you came on board in the middle of a pandemic, after a year with an interim superintendent, that you really dug in deep, listening to all of our stakeholders, and I see, you know, and you shared feedback, what you were learning along the way, and I see that embedded in this, so I'm really appreciative of that work that you did up front to know what, you know, to not come in and assume you knew what was right for Orting, even though you were very familiar with us, but to learn when you got here, and I see that. Also, strategic plans can be kind of high level, and there's a lot of education speak that we have to have in documents like these. But something that's been really important to us as a board is that community connection and the ability for everybody outside of the district to understand what's important for us here, what we're working on, where we need our supports, and that starts to come to life in this document. I especially appreciate at the end the ensuring implementation. Like this is you telling our community, here's where you're going to see this play out. Look in these areas, and I love that because it really shines a light on where anyone in Orting can see evidence of this vision. So I love the thoughtfulness around that, and I actually have done a lot of strategic plans in my professional career, and I haven't seen anything that clear. So thank you for that transparency. And like Melissa, I cannot wait for our meeting, because I'm a data girl. I want to see how specifically this is going to work. And I'm excited for, you know, everyone to go on this journey and fleshing this out. So well done. I love that it's this far along. It's still a draft. And I think you're definitely on the right track.
Yeah.
And Rashad, nice job.
You want to say something?
Nadine.
And can I just add, from the student perspective, it is absolutely incredible and thrilling to hear about this ensuring implementation, because from my time in Orting, I've heard so many things that I've been excited for, but it's just nothing has ever been brought to the next level. But even just this year so far, so many things have been said, and we've actually seen them come true. And just hearing about your strive for implementation is just absolutely wonderful, and the students appreciate it, they see it, they notice it. We love it.
That's
So
great.
thank you for that.
That's fantastic. That's great. That's the
And-
most important feedback.
Yeah.
I'm going to boomerang credit right on back to the hundreds of people that gave feedback in this process. This is really the amalgam of lots of voice from a lot of different people that are sharing their dreams and hopes and passions. An incredible cabinet team that helped to take those ideas and tune them and put language from what they hear out there and what you're saying and make that happen. I couldn't do it without Bonnie's help, Rashad's help. So there's a lot of support, and that's the power of coherence. When you get a system moving in the right direction, it starts to just grow and roll, and that flywheel goes, and that flywheel is turning, and I'm happy to be here and be a part of that, working with you in an amazing community.
That's what a real strategic plan is, what you just said.
Well done, everyone.
Yeah.
Question real quick on number 4. What's the child holding? Or what is that?
That was a butterfly?
So-
It's butterfly.
oh, is that what it is?
I think it was
It's a
a
butterfly,
butterfly on the
right?
finger.
It's a butterfly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going for a kidney or state of New Hampshire.
Is that a blue morpho butterfly? I hope
It was a
not.
butterfly. Yeah.
Great.
The
So when
poisonous.
will we come back with this?
So what we will do is, given your feedback, hearing that structurally we're in the right place, what we will do is put final edit eyes, and I'm looking to one of my team as well, because I know some other of my team have been there, and then we'll make sure that we are publish ready, and that's the goal. We never want to publish anything on the district's or your behalf that is not publish ready, and once we make sure that's good, then we'll begin to not only put that on the website and communicate that, but you'll see ongoing updates like we do Friday and messages, and talk about what we're going to do to help launch that and bring that to reality. So our work, now that we know that we're in the right direction, is to make sure we build a wonderful retreat for you, and we can say, here's where we think we're at today, and here's next year's bite-sized chunk to move us in the right directions, to include how some of the staffing decisions we're making now and the alignment of resources will help move us in a greater direction towards that reality.
One question though. Does this go out in the mail to students? Or
It-
the families?
It could. We don't have a plan to do so yet. Probably, normally our channel is probably not a hard copy mailer, but to send a link and some announcement and press release it type of thing. And we'll make sure we're talking about that to get your ideas of how you'd like it to go forward.
Cool.
What I'd like to do, and Rashad and I have talked about this, is maybe a condensed bifold that we can begin to condense this and take it to our developments and let our families joining us know what the Orting School District is about and who we are, and maybe not have a 9-page document, but get it down into a bifold. We've made a similar brochure for our staff, for our new employees that are joining us, so kind of welcome to Orting kind of a thing. So we probably do something similar in the strategic plan world. And when we build that long-term construction plan, we would do something similar, just to make sure we're inviting our community and knowing who we are and where we're going, not only on the vision side, but also the growth side.
And then on the abbreviated form, you'd have a link to the whole thing if they want to see it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
Very cool.
Okay. Just want to stay here, talk about that. But the next item on our agenda is presented by Director Willis with our transportation strategic plan, part of our long-range plan.
So has everyone had time to take a look at it?
Yes.
And do you have any questions at all?
I did not see any questions.
I have a thumbs up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You know, by the way, this isn't in there, but we just got a new bus, and so I think it's number 36.
Oh,
And
nice.
I got back to my office and I had a dozen pictures of the new bus by Megan, because she was so proud of it.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
great.
And I also, if you don't, a side note, this time 2 years ago, March 17th was when we closed.
Right.
And 2 days later, we had lunches on the road.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep,
So
right.
by all of our bus drivers. And so we got things going really quickly, and had, not only did the kitchen get all those sandwiches out,
Right.
but we deployed all of our bus drivers And you know how it comes up on your phone? Pictures, like memories, and like, I felt like deleting it. But, you know, it was a really good memory, and I talked to the drivers this week and how proud of them I was, and I hope we never have to do it again.
Yes.
So,
Right.
I was really thrilled that we stuck to our commitment to get cameras on the
yeah,
buses.
all the buses have all of them on there now. That's way different than it was a couple years ago.
Yes.
And so all of them there, and we also have mid-bus as well, and that's also helped us. And we've had to use that quite a bit this year. And one of the nice things about it is that it's actually, some things you can actually hear what's going on. Not only can you see it, but you can hear it. So that's helped us with
Yes,
several investigations.
yes, I was going,
Good.
I was going.
To help actually keep our kids safe.
Yes, I think that's good. And also that we are, we have improved the communication on the buses so that they can be in contact instead of the linear one where it was one contact, because there's so many emergencies and things. It's so important.
Yeah, so we're still waiting, that's gotten better, but we're still
Right.
waiting on our repeater on top of the high school, because we have our buses going out to Holly. And
Right.
so that's been really difficult regarding transportation, so.
Right. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that we've talked a lot about relationships tonight, and I have to tell you that one time in the summer, I was standing outside a Safeway, and I was talking to Jerry, the bus driver, and he was going, "Oh, those are some of my kids over there." And the bus drivers have really good relationships with a lot of their kids. Nora's bus driver on the shuttle, he does this like trivia game with them to keep them, and like we've said before, relationships really make a difference. And the bus driver's the first contact for a lot of kids. And
You
they're,
see them every day.
yes.
Yeah, and one thing, I don't know if you know, but Mona's retiring this year. And so, for those of you who don't know her, she's been a special needs bus driver for 30 years, I think, 30 years. And so, she's retiring at the end of this year and moving to Montana.
Oh, that's this year. Bridget didn't know
Yeah,
before if it was this year or next year.
I couldn't convince her otherwise. So, all right, if you don't have any questions, it's fine to ask questions after the board meeting. I'll be happy to answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll check in with Megan.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, thank you very much. It's just a literally and figuratively a well-oiled machine.
Very much so.
Yep. All right, next item, this is the second reading for policy, second reading of a policy consideration. This is for board policy 3246, restraint, isolation, and other uses of reasonable force. So.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Wonderful, thank you.
Second.
Awesome.
Second? Okay, great, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Joanne, I just want to make sure we got your vote.
Aye.
You're good? Okay, I got a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thank you. All right, so I will now entertain a motion for the consent agenda. I'm keeping in mind that we had the one modification earlier tonight.
I
Yes,
move
Yeah.
the addition of the personnel agenda, correct?
Yes.
From the modification.
Yeah.
Does that just get roped into the personnel agenda here, or do we have to call it out separately?
It will be added following this meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I will then move to approve items 1 through 6 on the consent agenda.
I'll
Is there a
second it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Joanne, thumbs up?
Hmm.
Good, okay. Motion passes. And for those of you who don't know, Joanne's traveling, so we've got her here, she's present, just virtually. All right, so the next is, we've got 3 resolutions. So the first one is the bond resolution for Orting School District, LGO bond 2022.
I move to approve resolution number 7.2021-2022 for the limited general obligation bond.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, resolution, the second one for the evening. I will hear a motion for that.
Motion to approve resolution number 8.2021-2022 for the debt services bond and capital project fund budget extensions.
I second it.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And resolution number 3.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 9/2021 through 2022 for the capital project fund
To debt services fund
to
transfer.
debt services fund transfer.
Perfect. Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 No opposed? Motion passes. Let me just take a moment to,
That's big.
that's
Yeah.
huge for
Yes.
us.
Very big.
Really?
I want to
Oh.
really thank Ed and Marcy and Carrie as well for, this is a big one. And it's not something I have participated in on the board. And the information and the background that was provided to us was wonderful.
Yeah.
So just thank you for that. It's confusing, it's
Complicated, yeah.
legalese, and thank you. I'm so excited.
I want to say thank you too, because when I ran, one of the things that I ran for was to develop a long-term plan and for us to be moving forward on it. So I am thrilled,
Yes,
thrilled.
yes. We are on the right path.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Celebrating. Okay, now we have our student report.
All right, so like mentioned before, we have so many of our clubs and our wrestling team winning state, making it to state, which is just, along with the lifting of the mask mandate, student morale has been incredibly up. Students are just all around so excited for all these achievements and just moving forward. And our culture club and Students Helping Students have kind of joined forces, and we're planning a cultural unity night on the 20th of April, just to represent the different cultures at Orting and educate others on different cultures. So that'll be really exciting. April 20th, we're planning for that. We're currently practicing for a school play. We're gonna perform on the 22nd and 23rd, a play called The Rehearsal, and that has been going great. Prom is currently being planned by our ASB. There will be more about that when they kind of solidify that, but prom is being planned, and as of right now, it looks like it's gonna be at the Tacoma Museum of Glass, which is really exciting.
Be
Yeah,
fun.
students are
very
really excited for that.
May 7th.
Yeah. There's a band concert on the 24th of this month and a choir concert on the 30th, and so much hard work is going into that. We are very, very excited for that, and all students are excited for having tomorrow off. I've heard lots about that. Everyone is
Yeah.
very excited for that, and spring sports are happening, and athletes are excited to be practicing without constraints of a mask. And yeah, our track team actually, I believe, has a game today, and softball has one tomorrow, I think. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. That's great. Thank you.
I love when baseball and softball are practicing and playing, because from my house I can hear the crack of the bat. And I love that sound.
So cool.
Well, I was excited to learn about prom. My son said he's going shopping with his friend who's buying prom clothes, and I'm like, well, do you need prom clothes? Good to know.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, gosh. Such an exciting meeting tonight, and I'm just, in our consent agenda, I saw the field trip portions, and we haven't seen those in a couple years.
Really?
And so I was like, oh, yay, the kids get to start participating outside and doing things and going on the field trips. And so that was really exciting to see.
Love that.
Pretty intense competitive events too.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of that, like, wow. They're gonna have some fun.
Mhm.
Yeah. And they get to be with other students.
Yeah.
It's good. All right. Board comments.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
Anything? We've talked a lot tonight. There's been so many good things, but is there anything else that you guys want to add?
Well, I'm just going to directly thank Nadine, for tonight. One of the things that I appreciate about having a board representative up here is that when we talk about why we're here and student voice and student agency, we love to hear what's going on at the schools, but I also really appreciate hearing what you find valuable in the work that's being done. And so when you specifically singled out a portion in this plan that meant something to you and your peers, I just want to thank you for bringing that out, because that's personally why I love having a student representative up here. It's like, okay, we can check that they're engaged with this. This means something to them, and we know then going forward, hey, how are you going to make sure that the students are happy? So, so thank you for that and taking this role on and doing that. I really appreciate it.
Very good.
Well, I was going to say Happy St. Patrick's Day, but I was also thinking right away of all the stories I know of my family emigrating to America and investing in their community and being part of their community. And so tonight's board meeting really brought that all home, because I see us all being committed to our community and working our community and investing in it. And so it was the best St. Patrick's Day present I could ever have.
Love it.
I met a guy and his wife the other day that came down to the Haven. They're thinking about buying a building next door, and he's third degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, special force guy. He's had all these different dojos and things all around the country. Just the nicest couple ever. And I was asking him, because I track people moving in and out of town, and I, well, where are you guys coming from? Bonnie Lake. And you moved down to Orting? And it was the wrestling program. He said, well, we know what, Orting just breeds phenomenal wrestlers. And so they moved down here, and that was one of the biggest reasons was our wrestling program. And he heard all about, what we did. And I had so much pride hearing that comment. I'm like, I love living here. And, it's just the cutest little town, and we have a lot of pride in this school. And you can definitely tell that since the mask thing, there has been a lot more morale. Even with kids running around outside with smiles, it's been a great last couple weeks, or last week since that happened. So thanks for letting us know about the boost of morale too. It's really nice to hear. Yeah.
Great. All right. If there's nothing further, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned at 7:10.
Wow, we did a lot tonight.
Yes. Great. Great.
You're gonna remember this one.
Yeah.
This one you can look back and say, I was there when.
Yep.
Great.
It'll be awesome.
Are we allowed to